Now at 9, authorities in Parsons, Kansas charge a man suspected in multiple incidents this week. Plus, the remains of a World War II vet are interred in a cemetery in Independence, Kansas. And
a deal is a deal, and this one got bipartisan support. But the debt ceiling measure still has its critics. I'm Molly Henneberg in Washington. I'll have details just ahead.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Thank you all for joining us tonight. I'm Jalen Banks. Authorities in Parsons, Kansas have charged a man after he was arrested following a standoff with police. Sadarish Herman is charged with 3 counts of attempted first-degree murder, criminal discharge of a firearm at an occupied dwelling, and aggravated endangerment of a child. Police arrested him yesterday evening after a standoff at Parsons Village apartment complex. Police surrounded the complex and Herman and initially refused to come out, but police later entered the apartment and arrested him without incident. You can read more about the case on our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. The search continues this evening for an armed and dangerous escapee from the Berry County, Missouri jail. Take a look at this mugshot. Berry County deputies are looking for Mario Che Tull. He was in the county jail for child molestation charges. The sheriff's office said he was one in a group of inmates that overpowered and assaulted 2 correctional officers late last night. All of the other escapees are back in custody. Again, Che Tull is considered armed and dangerous. If you have any information about his location, you are asked to call the police. A project manager hired to clean up a lead-contaminated park in Granby, Missouri is sentenced in federal court. A federal judge sentenced 65-year-old Lynn to serve 5 years of probation and pay a $40,000 fine. Ike's employer, Environmental Quality Management, received a nearly $12 million contract to perform waste and remediation in the Granby area. Last year, Ike admitted he gave federal officials false information about the scope and amount of lead contamination at Granby City Park. Officials say the deceit cost taxpayers hundreds of thousands of dollars to correct. Authorities say 2 people are dead after a crash near Cassville. It happened Wednesday night on Highway 248, just outside of town. The Missouri Highway Patrol reports the driver, Rylan Wilson of Cassville, lost control of his motorcycle. Both Wilson and a juvenile were thrown from it when the motorcycle hit an embankment. The juvenile was pronounced dead on the scene. Wilson was taken to Mercy Hospital in Springfield, where he later died. And now we move to weather. Chloe Arroyo joins us with a first look.
Well, we've seen those scattered showers and storms across the board throughout the afternoon, and especially increasing into the evening hours. And we're currently looking at one in particular, just this storm system right here over Joplin. This includes Neosho. Lots of lightning going on with this. It's forming into a stronger storm, not severe by any means, but still on the stronger side. So we're keeping an update on that. But also this band of heavy rain just west of Buffalo heading into Stockton. So if you're in the Stockton region, be prepared for those isolated and potentially heavy downpours in the next 5 to 10 minutes, and that'll continue within the next hour or so. Now, coming up here in a bit, we're going to talk about the storm timeline as we head into the rest of the week and a potential cool front this week. I'll also have the storm details as we head into next weekend, all coming up in a bit.
The city of Miami has selected a new fire chief. Chris Chenoweth started as a Miami firefighter in 2013, and he was promoted to deputy chief in 2022. The fire department is staffed by 23 firefighters. Chenoweth said he plans for more aggressive training before the end of the year to prepare for more specific situations, such as tower collapses and water rescue situations. The remains of a World War II soldier were buried today in Independence, Kansas. U.S. Army Air Forces Staff Sergeant David E. Holman was a La Harpe, Kansas native. He was stationed in the Philippines when Japanese forces invaded in December. Holman was among thousands of U.S. and Filipino service members captured and interned at POW camps when U.S. officers in Bataan surrendered. Records show Holman died in July of 1942. He was buried with other prisoners in a common grave. Holman's remains were identified last year by DNA testing. A local foundation hosted an event, Stick It to Cancer. The Mercy Health Foundation today hosted a dinner from area restaurants with a twist. They served everything on a stick. There was also live music, and it was emceed by our very own Dow Quick. Proceeds from the event will fund equipment and programs to benefit area cancer patients. President Biden addressed the nation tonight after the Senate passed a new debt limit deal. Both sides are claiming victory, but not everyone agrees. Fox News correspondent Molly Henneberg has the latest from Washington.
The stakes could not have been higher.
A day after bipartisan Senate passage of the debt deal, President Biden addressed the nation and praised lawmakers.
It's essential to the progress we made over the last few years is keeping full faith and credit of the United States of America and passing a budget that continues to grow our economy and reflects our values as a nation.
In part, the 99-page Fiscal Responsibility Act of 2023, as it's called, removes the limit on how much the U.S. government can borrow to pay its bills and restricts some government spending for 2 years.
We will not be defaulting, and we will not be passing the hard rights extreme agenda, virtually no part of it.
Top Senate Republican Mitch McConnell says the measure, quote, begins to curb Washington Democrats' addiction to reckless spending that grows our nation's debt. 36 senators voted against the debt deal, mostly Republicans. One says it's too risky to remove the debt limit rather than set a new one now.
It's like people that do the grocery cart race, and they're given 2 minutes to fill up that cart with everything. They go for the most expensive things. They pile as much as they can before the time runs out. That is what I fear will happen with this, with no dollar amount set and the limit suspended.
Congress will consider setting a new debt limit in 2025, after the next presidential election. In Washington, Molly Henneberg, Fox News.
The Biden administration is hoping to get Russia to table for nuclear arms control talks. Earlier this year, President Volodymyr Putin pulled Russia's participation from the START treaty. But the U.S. wants to draw Moscow back. A major speech Friday by U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan could push Russia toward discussions. Coming up, how a nightly snack of dark chocolate and red wine could be helpful for your memory. A new study finds wages based on performance has a strong link to poor health, which can even lead to substance abuse. The study, published in the journal Industrial Relations, shows performance-related pay, or PRP, can lead to high stress, heart diseases, and mental health issues for workers. That's because many PRP workers might have to work harder while under pressure to meet deadlines or target goals. What you eat could affect your brain. A new study showed that diets low in flavonols, a compound found in foods like berries, dark chocolate, and red wine, was linked to age-related memory loss. Researchers studied the impact of flavonols on cognition in over 3,000 older individuals over the span of 3 years. Those with high flavanol consumption had better hippocampal memory function, which is responsible for one aspect of cognitive aging, compared to those with lower flavanol intake. The CDC is reporting brain abscences in children were up 200% over the winter. A brain abscess occurs when a sinus or ear infection travels to the brain. It's extremely rare, and even at the elevated rate, only 102 cases were reported in the U.S. in December. The CDC only began collecting information on the condition a year ago after physicians reported seeing more cases than usual. Chloe is back with a complete look at the forecast, and later, Webb City Baseball is competing for a spot in the state finals. We'll have the highlights in sports.
Well, we're tracking scattered storms across the metro. Let's get right into it, starting off with our Indigo Sky Casino and Resort. Just west of Seneca, Missouri, they're seeing a couple clouds here and there. They're seeing a break from the rain since it's so scattered right now across the board. Taking a look at our live radar, there's stuff off to our west that's starting to break down, but it seems that when one breaks down, another starts to build up. Specifically, we're looking at this one over by Joplin and right over over Neosho is where the strongest part of this storm is forming. And mind you, it is not a severe storm, but there's a lot of strength with that, and it's looking like it is increasing, and a lot of lightning associated with this. So make sure you're indoors in the next hour or so until this system passes along. So looking a little further up north, this was a pretty heavy band of rain earlier, but because of that outflow boundary, see that line that moves off to our west pretty quickly. Because that moved so far off to our west, our energy has been lost from this. So we're not seeing as much strength coming from this storm specifically, but above all, this is rain that is much needed, especially off to our folks off west, Independence, Chanute, even over in the Wichita range. You guys have seen a lot of rainfall today, which had helped aid that drought. We're still under a drought, unfortunately. So thankfully, we're going to continue to see some more rainfall across the board this weekend. Not but much by any means, just under 2/10 of an inch for Miami. Sedan, a little over an inch, which is good because they need that rainfall a little bit more off to the west. They're a little more on the dry side. Let's take a look at your Saturday morning. We'll see temperatures wake up into the mid to upper 60s across the board. We'll begin to see some scattered showers and storms begin to develop around the 2 o'clock area, and then they'll continue into the afternoon and evening hours. Temperatures will still stay pretty warm, mid to upper 80s across the board, and then Sunday morning you'll wake up pretty similar. Pretty much clear skies. We'll see a break from the rain before we see another round of some isolated showers here and there. Sunday afternoon, 4 p.m., we'll see some showers up into the northwestern or northeastern portions, of the viewing area. Temperatures mid to upper 80s once again. So feeling very nice, very average for this time of year, but those scattered showers is what we're going to keep an eye on. Let's take a look at our 7-day forecast as well as our 10-day. We'll see those temperatures rise up into the mid to upper 80s at the beginning of the week, and then we'll taper off. We'll have a slight cool front. I don't even want to say cold front, but a slight cool front as we head into Tuesday night, into Wednesday and Thursday. That'll cool us down into the upper 70s Thursday and Friday, and we'll see lows in the upper 50s for those lows, but above all, pretty warm temperatures and a beautiful week ahead.
For sure. And earlier today, I was talking about, after Labor Day, it seems as if we hit summer weather now, but now I see that there's a slight halt to that.
Yes, thankfully. I mean, these showers and storms, they're so isolated. They're true tornado alley storms for the summer.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you, Chloe. And the official start of summer is just a few weeks away, and business owners are in dire need of teenage workers to fill jobs. Fox Business correspondent Lydia Hu has more from Jersey Shore.
It used to be that the summer dream job for teenagers was here at the beach, but we're hearing from a lot of venues they're still struggling to hire. We are at Casino Pier with Maria Saltzman, who's one of the managers. And Maria, you're still struggling to find the workers that you need for this coming summer. What's going on?
Yeah, unfortunately, we used to be able to get applicants and have to turn them away, but this past 3 years, ever since COVID, we are just not getting the 16-plus-year-olds that we need.
So New Jersey is one of the states that has revised some of their laws to try to address the labor shortage that we've been seeing. 16 and 17-year-olds are now able to work up to 50 hours in a single week. Has that been helping?
It definitely helps because we have a long operational hours from the water park to the pier, so it helps that we can make those 16-year-olds that we do have work longer and fill the staffing needs.
But it's not enough. So what more do you think you need to fill that gap?
I think if we were able to get the 14, 15-year-olds that we get a lot of applicants for, if they're able to get parental consent to work longer hours, that definitely would be helping for us.
And you're also offering incentives like college scholarships and vouchers for free meals and other types of
anything to get them here.
Well, good luck. And another point that you made was that, you have retirees coming out of retirement.
Yep.
Not such a great sign that our older Americans are being forced to come back to work, but if you have to come back to work anywhere, maybe not such a bad place to work at the beach for the summer. And you might be able to indulge in a fun game of skee ball or two. We'll send it back to you as we close it out here. I'm Lydia Hu for Fox Business, reporting from Seaside Heights, New Jersey.
Coming up, a deal is in the president's hands now.
With just days to go, the debt ceiling bill nears the finish line. I'm Madla Rivera in Washington with what senators have to say about the deal coming up.
Soon, millions of federal student loan holders will be ordered to resume paying their loans. But in an ironic twist, the government agency tasked with sending them the bill is pleading poverty and warning students may get poor customer service if the agency doesn't get more money. Fox's Madeline Rivera has more from Washington.
The last 3 years have been a relief for Mayo Sanko without the burden of having to pay her student loans.
I've had more comfort in terms of my bottom line, for sure.
But the pandemic pause on student loan payments is set to end around late August, posing a challenge for Sanko.
And if you think about inflation and how it's been persistent, my costs aren't going down.
And the Department of Education. Congress last year refused a White House request for more money to the federal office that oversees the student loan system, which could make its job of notifying millions of borrowers to resume paying their bills a lot harder.
Well, what that means for borrowers is essentially that they could experience longer wait times, not be able to get in contact with the people that they need to.
The Education Department says it will continue to, quote, work closely with servicers to prioritize providing quality customer service to borrowers. But they're urging Congress to fund the president's 2024 budget request to provide them with additional resources. Still, some critics are skeptical of the agency's need for more money.
But it doesn't necessitate a huge infusion of cash. It requires going back to what they used to do and doing it again.
Republican lawmakers are also wary that any extra funds could be used for the president's student debt cancellation plan, which is expected to cost about $400 billion.
If you want to take out a loan, you should have that ability, but you shouldn't then expect somebody else to go pay it for you.
Whatever happens, Sanko only hopes she and other borrowers get the answers they're looking for so they don't default on their loans.
You need to make sure that I have everything knowledge-wise to make sure that that doesn't happen.
In Washington, Malta Rivera, Fox News.
Chase customers should check their statements. The bank says it's working to reverse double payments. For some who use the Zelle payment app, a spokesperson for Chase says the bank will automatically reverse the duplicates and adjust any related fees. A federal regulator is warning people not to store cash on platforms like PayPal or Venmo. Consumer Financial Protection Bureau Director Rihot Chopra issued a statement saying more people are using such apps to keep their money. Some are even having paychecks directly deposited to these apps. The problem is, unlike traditional banks, these platforms are not insured by the federal government. Up next, how NASA is trying to include the public in a mission to Mars. Well, I know you've heard about a message in a bottle, but what about a message in a bottle that will end up in space? NASA wants to get in on its Europa Clipper mission by adding your name to an original poem penned by U.S. poet Ada Lyman titled In Praise of Mystery, a poem for Europa. The poem will be aboard the spacecraft when it blasts off in October 2024. The spacecraft will then travel billions of miles away to Jupiter's moon, Europa, where it will investigate if the ocean there, thought to lie beneath Europa's icy crust, could support life. 30 more minutes of news, weather, and sports coming your way. An RV coach manufacturer announces a multi-million-dollar expansion in Ottawa County, Oklahoma. Plus, we'll meet an Oklahoma 5th grader who isn't letting her disability stop her from playing the game she loves. A Miami, Oklahoma producer of luxury coaches is gearing up for an expansion project with the help of funding through the Oklahoma Department of Commerce. KOAM Shagun Bamdali has more.
Newell Coach is preparing a $7.5 million expansion project supported by $2 million in funding from the Oklahoma Department of Commerce. In April, the company received notification of approval for the award under the state's Business Expansion Incentive Program.
And we're going to use the money as part of a facility office project. We're going to be building some new offices on the grounds to add more space for growth and just kind of update our facility.
The last time any expansion was done in Newell was in 2010.
Specifically to the offices, we haven't done any expansion really since probably 2010 or 2011 is when they did a remodel. We have added facilities on our campus here in Miami, quite a few over the last 10 years. We've added a new production facility, a service expansion, a new frontline building. So we're continuing to add as our company growth allows.
An employee says the expansion will allow for more workflow.
Oh, the expansion is going to be great for us, not only for our customers, our employees as well. We are the top motor coach manufacturer in the world, and so we need to have that presence when a customer pulls up. So I think our new office facility will set the tone of what the customer needs to expect from us and what they'll get from us.
With the new expansion, Newell is expected to hire more people and boost the economy of Miami, Oklahoma.
We're a top employer in our area, so as we continue to grow and have success, we're going to look to continue to bring on talented people and grow our employer base. And as our employee base grows, then that benefits everybody in the community.
In Miami, Shagbamdele, KOAM News.
The Business Expansion Incentive Program assists Oklahoma companies making a major capital investment in items such as machinery, equipment, and buildings. Moms Demand Action today held a kids fun run and donation drive for Safe House at Forest Park in Parsons, Kansas. Participants brought donations such as personal hygiene items, household cleaning items, paper goods, diapers, and pet food to run. Children were allowed to participate and receive small prizes for running. It also included music and various food trucks.
Yeah, we're giving away gun locks because there are homes in Kansas that have guns with children and they are not locked. And so we wrote a grant to get money from the Parsons Area Community Foundation to buy gun locks so that all guns in the homes are locked and secure.
The Safe House Crisis Center provides shelter and resources to survivors of domestic abuse. Kids in Neosho spent their Friday out by water catching some fish. The Neosho National Fish Hatchery today hosted its annual Kids Fishing Derby. Kids between the ages of 7 and 12 could compete and were able to catch up to 4 fish. Officials say this event gives kids a valuable chance to get outdoors for some fun.
We have volunteers to help everybody that don't know how to fish. We got volunteers to help them learn how to fish. Help them put bait on the hook. We got volunteers to help them take fish off the hook. So this is a community event, and we couldn't do this event without the community.
This is the second fishing derby the hatchery has held this year. An Oklahoma 5th grader is an avid softball player, despite the amputation of one of her legs. She's bonded with a college player and says the older athlete inspires her. Nikki Marker has the story.
Gemma Gallman, a 5th grader living in Tuttle, Oklahoma, was born with an extremely rare condition where her tibia, ankle, and knee were all missing. The result? An amputation of her right leg at only 9 months old. Although, that has not stopped her in the slightest.
She's more of a, I'll show you with my actions instead of my words.
In addition to starting softball at the age of 4, Gemma loves to attend Oklahoma softball games. A particular player in the 2021 World Series caught her eye. As Mackenzie Donahue leaped into right field catching an almost unattainable ball, Gemma was hooked.
She put a lot of effort into catching it, so she was really excited that, I don't know, that's why she really liked Mackenzie, because she gave a lot of effort.
Sharing the same hitting and pitching coach, they were able to meet in person. 2 years later, Donahue is now an infielder for the University of Tennessee. Their friendship sustained through the transfer, and Gemma and her family even got to take a trip to Knoxville to throw the first pitch at the Lady Vols game.
I was so scared. My heart was racing, but it was kind of fun after.
Did it help that Kinsey was catching it for you? Did it help calm you down?
Gemma's mom, Tamara Gallman, says her daughter is encouraging her every day.
Because, there's times in your life where you kind of be like, I can't do this. You know what I mean? But then I can't because I have a kid over here who I constantly tell, we don't say that. We don't say we can.
She speaks highly of Donahue. Despite being a busy Division I athlete, she still makes time to support Gemma.
So she kind of connects with her on a different level so that she really feels like that's someone she can talk to, which is, I think, is absolutely amazing.
Many are amazed by the relationship between the two, but Gemma doesn't see herself as different from anyone else.
Because everybody's like, oh my gosh, I'm so jealous. And I'm like, it's not that big of a deal.
The feelings are mutual, as Donahue posted a tweet about their friendship.
That's awesome. A bit later, addressing a fast-growing technology.
Friend or foe, new warnings about the risks associated with artificial intelligence, like it could be something from a Terminator movie. I'm Mark Meredith at the White House. I'll explain coming up.
Well, we've been tracking those isolated, scattered storms across the afternoon. Thankfully, they kind of have died down since the afternoon hours. Let's take a look at our Indigo Sky Casino and Resort. It's kind of an interesting look here in Seneca, Missouri, or just west of Seneca, Missouri, with those clouds. Sun's going down, so those clouds are starting to darken up. Some of them are just hanging out, and some of them are producing some showers and storms across the board. Let's take a closer look into Joplin and Neosho. They're starting to see this storm system that once, just about 30 minutes ago, maybe an hour ago, were a little on the stronger side, seeing a lot of thunder and lightning associated with the storm. Now it's starting to taper off, and you'll see some more widespread rain along with that. Here's another system that we were looking at earlier. It produced a lot of heavy rain as it passed through Buffalo and just west of Buffalo, but right before it got to Stockton, it really kind of zapped out and really died down. So thankfully, we might be coming towards the end of the stronger storms, but some much needed rain, which across the board has been very needed with this very extensive drought off to our west in Independence, Chanute, especially in the Wichita region. You guys are in an exceptional drought range. So this rain was much needed, and off to our folks out west saw quite a bit of widespread rain this afternoon, which was definitely a good sign. So we'll continue to see some more rainfall as we head into this weekend. Joplin just over 1/10 of an inch, Neosho at 1/10 of an inch, but as you head a little further west, you'll see Coffeyville right over 1/2 an inch, and then Sedan projected to be over an inch. So hopefully we'll get to see even more rainfall as we head into the weekend. Now let's time this out. Temperatures will warm up into the mid to upper 60s as you wake up in the morning. 66 for Columbus, 66 Joplin as well, and then we'll begin to see some more isolated showers, and it could be a similar setup to what we see or what we saw earlier this afternoon. And then we'll taper off into the morning hours. Sunday morning, you'll wake up to some mostly clear skies in the 60s, and then we'll warm right back up into the mid to upper 80s. We'll also see those showers once again, mainly off to our northeast viewing area in those counties up there near Fort Scott and Nevada. Up in those regions, that's where you could see the most scattered storms with this. Temperatures as you wake up Monday morning, once again, mid to upper 60s as you wake up. So overall look at the 7-day forecast as well as the 10-day. We'll see those temperatures skyrocket into the upper 80s the next couple of days, accompanying those scattered showers and storms, but a beautiful week ahead. And my goodness, these are some very summer-like, like July storms that we're seeing throughout the weekend.
For sure. Well, I'm definitely looking forward to that day of 79 and 78 because, man, it's been warm the last few days.
It's been a little toasty for sure.
For sure.
Yes.
Thank you, Chloe. The month of June means blueberry season is upon us once again. We sent Nick Kelly down to a berry farm near the Missouri-Arkansas line where he was able to pick and start earlier than normal.
The second week of June through July is the usual peak blueberry season here in the Ozarks. For Persimmon Hill Farm, though, this is the first time in 10 years that they were able to get a head start. The farm opened for picking at the end of May for its earliest varieties of blueberries, with other varieties, even the blackberries, starting to come along nicely. One of the owners gives credit to Mother Nature that gave them a warm spring and prevented a late frost.
A lot of the times when they start to blossom and whatever, we'll have a little cold spell and it'll hold them back, but it stayed warm and we were able to escape that the late frost, so conditions were just right and they ripened early.
With more varieties of blueberries, blackberries, and gooseberries coming along, this farm is looking at a pretty good season for everyone near and far to enjoy.
And coming up in sports, the Joplin Outlaws aim for back-to-back wins to begin their season. Plus, Webb City Baseball hits the field looking for a spot in the state championship. Jacob Leonard has those highlights and more next.
Well, the Webb City High School baseball team is in the state semifinals for the first time since 2010. The Cards hit the field this afternoon against St. Francis Borgia in the Class 5 semifinals. The winner of this one advances to play for a state championship tomorrow afternoon. Webb City trying to snap Borgia's 10-game winning streak and earn a spot against Festus tomorrow in the state championship. Pick it up top of the first inning, Kaylor Darnell on the mound for Webb City. Gets the first out of the game with a strikeout there. This game scoreless until the bottom of the third. Borgia gets on the board first with an RBI single to left. Gives the Knights a 1-0 lead. They're sticking around in the third inning with runners on. Darnell with a big strikeout here. Taylor Darnell finishes the game going 5 1/3. Picks up 5 strikeouts along the way. So in the 6th inning now, Tanner McPherson lines this one back up the middle. 2 runs are going to come in to score on that. Borgia pushes their lead to 4-0. We go to the top of the 7th. Last chance here for Webb City. It'll be strike 3, and that's the ball game. St. Francis Borgia beats Webb City 4-0. Cardinals will play for 3rd place tomorrow morning.
You just try to tell the kids, hey, I know this is really frustrating. You feel like you're in the game, and then, you feel like a stadium championship, gets ripped from you, and that's just how it is, and that's baseball sometimes. And so, you just try to regroup and tell them to flush it and try to show up tomorrow and win the next one.
The Joplin Outlaws won their season opener last night, beating the Des Moines Peak Prospects 5-4 in walk-off fashion. Tonight, those 2 teams meet again in Joplin to wrap up their 2-game set. The Joplin tries to make it back-to-back wins tonight to open their schedule. Luke Schmedding on the mound for the Outlaws. Got some early run support. Bottom 1, William Kelly, RBI single to left. Tragan Parker and Colton Reynolds both score. Makes it 2-0 Joplin. At top of the 3rd now, Schmedding gets his first strikeout. More from him in just a minute. Bottom 3 now, Colton Howerton, RBI single. Drives this one back up the middle. Outlaws push their lead to 5-0 after 3. And in the top of the 4th, Schmedding still cruising on the mound. Gets a strikeout looking. 4 shutout innings for Schmedding. Allows just 2 hits, but then the weather hits and the game is postponed. With the Outlaws leading it 5-0 in the top of the 5th. The St. Louis Cardinals and Kansas City Royals have each had the last 2 nights off after playing each other for a pair of games earlier this week in St. Louis. Tonight, though, both are back on the field. The Cardinals are on the road tonight facing NL Central rival Pittsburgh with an H for Game 1 of their 3-game series. That one is over. Pirates score 6 runs in the 7th to beat St. Louis 7-5. Nolan Arenado goes 3 for 5 on the night with a pair of RBIs. As for the Royals, they're back at home tonight, opening a 3-game interleague series with the Colorado Rockies. Kansas City almost finished here. They're down 7-2 in the bottom of the 9th. Rockies just put up 6 runs in the top of the 8th. In that Outlaws game, obviously they were cruising up 5-0 in the top of the 5th. That game will either be finished on June 20th or June 21st, but it will be at Des Moines as part of a doubleheader.
So they'll play a game, and then they'll play.
Yeah, they'll finish that one and then play their regularly scheduled game. So I guess the Outlaws get half of a home game.
Okay.
In that
all right. So they're 1.5 on the schedule for win. Okay. All right. That's a new one. Thank you, Jacob. We're back with more news after this. President Biden is now warning of major changes to America's military as artificial intelligence technology expands. Fox News correspondent Mark Meredith has more from the White House.
Artificial intelligence is already impacting just about every industry, and now the commander-in-chief is talking about how it could change America's national security posture. President Biden issuing his most direct warning to date over growing concerns about the rise of AI, telling Air Force cadets tough decisions will have to be made in coming years about how much technology is too much.
We're seeing engaging technology, emerging technologies, all AI, from AI and 3D printing, that could change the character of conflict itself. AI can actually overtake human thinking and planning.
The military says it too is looking at AI's future. An Air Force colonel made waves for discussing a hypothetical situation where an AI drone might attack its operator. The story blowing up on social media, with many pointing out this is the exact scenario President Biden and so many others have warned about. This week, a group of industry leaders from the Center for AI Safety, including high-level executives at Microsoft and Google, issued a dire alert, claiming AI poses a risk of human extinction, adding to the growing concerns from the private sector to right here in Washington about where the technology is heading.
There is promise and there's peril. There's both. And the president wants to see a strong private-public partnership.
AI continues to have a major impact on foreign affairs as well. Next week, the British Prime Minister says he'll discuss the issue with President Biden when he visits Washington. At the White House, Mark Meredith, Fox News.
Coming up, We'll check out a high school graduation with more than a dozen twins and triplets getting their diplomas. If you think you're seeing double during this next story, no need to clean your glasses or adjust your television. More than a dozen twins and triplets are graduating from a high school an hour outside of Boston today. Dan Hossel went to meet them.
Westford Academy's graduation ceremony Friday may seem a bit repetitive. That's because Westford's 400-some class of 2023 has 15 sets of twins and one set of triplets.
Hang out together, they play sports together, they do activities together.
And they're all going to graduate together.
And they're all graduating together.
The duplicates say being a twin has its ups.
We know how to share because we grew up together. We know how to make friends because we made them together.
And downs.
She follows me everywhere.
I don't.
I can't get rid of her.
Nobody seemed to realize just how special the class was until they started laying out the yearbook, and they needed 2 pages for the Twins Club.
I think we always kind of knew, like, this is a big class, you know, we have a lot of twins in there.
But this is an outrageous number.
It sure is.
I think the real impact moment was taking a look at that page in print in the yearbook was that final moment for me of wow. Wow.
And yes, the triplets say they get to pull rank. To be the only triplets among all these twins?
It's nice. Strength in numbers.
Numbers are key.
Yes.
Principal Antonelli says the unique bond of this group in this class may have a lasting impact.
5 years from now, when they come back for a reunion, it's going to be amazing. This particular class, it'll really click with over the years. What's happening with the twin?
Man, that's awesome. Scene double. Well, that's our time for tonight, and I hope you guys all have a great weekend, and thank you all for joining us. But before you go, we'll leave you with a video of today's festivities from good old days in Fort Scott. Be safe, and we'll do this all again. And we'll see you then.